if I'm a student and I'm applying to 10 different programs, sounds like it's important for me to learn all about the programs in general, but how do I focus it in on a specific program and let that specific program know that they're the place I want to go? I mean, I'm assuming that's a wise thing to do. That's been a strategy I've used my whole life and recommended to people, but how do you focus it?
How do you focus in on one specific program? Well, I think, first of all, as you mentioned, the researching online of the company and of the experts in that industry, and of the specific, of the people within that company. So that's incredibly vital. We've already mentioned that. But I think also, if you can maybe even sit down and have lunch with one of those industry experts and creating a contact with that person, I think it's incredibly important. Never underestimate the art of networking, especially in-person networking, So if you can get that in-person meeting, and it may not be with the president of the company initially, it might be with another dentist in the practice that's part of that program or company, and really sitting down and picking their head a little bit over what do they particularly like about the company? What's the culture like? What's the competition like? What would they say in terms of how you can develop yourself as an industry leader? How have they risen in their career? And maybe can they provide some leverage into the program so they can give you an inside peek into the program?
Yeah, I love that thought. So another point with a lot of the students that we've worked with across the country is getting to know, like you say, may not be the boss. In fact, it may be better to get to know the other residents who are already in the program, the other candidates who are already going through. Maybe they're the first year, maybe they're in their second or third year, but how big is it to build a relationship with those people, as you say, to leverage what you learn about the program, but also what they learn about you?
Yes.
Because I think it's so much easier for people to say yes to you when they know you and you know them.
Exactly.
Okay.
It really isn't about who you know, but it's who knows you and what they know about you specifically. What kind of information do you want to impart, and what does your reputation entail? And I think getting in front of other residents, other resident dentists, is going to be incredibly vital to the development and growth of your career track. And I think also that you really shouldn't underestimate anyone you come in contact with, because they could provide leverage. You never know where that connection is going to go. So just assuming, well, this isn't the head of the company, or this is not the direct connection or conduit in, you never know who that person knows. So use and really leverage every connection you make. Make sure that you get into any networking opportunity you possibly can, and you can also focus on different organizations, dental organizations, and networking groups that are a part of your local area. But look at national opportunities. Really look at it from many, many different levels.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. How do you get in the door? How do you meet those people to initiate that whole conversation, to start that relationship off?
I think one of the most important things is joining a networking group in Western New York or elsewhere if you live elsewhere. I think it's incredibly important to get out and to really build your networking opportunities. Again, some of it can be done through LinkedIn. You can certainly meet up with other professionals or people, but doing the research, of course, on the professionals you'd like to meet. But finding out where they hang out. And part of it is just finding out, do they go to different social events and networking events? So kind of getting a chance to get networked into those social circles, I think, is incredibly important. But I would say, being a part of, I'll give you one example, actually. Okay,
Sure.
I'm, in the human resource realm, and I'm also in the human services. But before I got into human resources, I really immersed myself in human services, and I needed more information. I needed more knowledge about HR, because that helps me to speak with employers better if I really know the inner workings of what they do. And so what I did was I joined the Buffalo Niagara Human Resources Association and became membership director eventually. So getting really networked in and actually building my credentials with them, building my I would say my gravitas and other things, being able to experience other business professionals, but step into a bailiwick that may be a little bit parallel to what I do, helped me to branch out. So I would say, take risks, take calculated risks. You may not feel initially incredibly comfortable going to a networking group, especially if you only know one or two people. But as you start to mingle and start to, kind of understand the inner workings of the either the company or networking group, and really get your feet wet, you'll find some really surprising and exciting things come from that, germinate.
It's interesting that you say that. So I'll spill the beans on the person I bought my practice from, because I'm not sure he knows about this 15 years later. But the process that you're saying of networking, I learned that he was going to be selling his practice sort of on the QT. So I studied where he would be, where he was going to go, how he was going to do it with dental activities. And I made sure that it was a Saturday afternoon, and it was a group of dentists who were going to one of the local malls to work with kids and give back to the community. And dentists were taking different shifts so we could be a presence throughout the entire day. And I made sure that I was on the same shift as him, and I just so happened to run into him. Was just so happened to be a week after I sent my resume, and it was a perfect 3-hour window for us to have a nonchalant, casual conversation of, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're here. But what a valuable 3 hours it turned out to be 15 years later. So.
Yeah, so you have to position yourself to be in the right place at the right time.
Like you said.
And to have been able to get to know the person kind of informally or indirectly beforehand, and you made yourself available for that period of time, knowing what he liked, knowing where he would be, and that's really what it's all about, is getting into the psychology of people, of your peers and superiors.
Yeah, that's a lot of, coming full circle with it, that's a lot of what I try to encourage the students go and do, is before you even apply to a program or a practice, pick up the phone and say, hey, you know what, I've heard some great things about this residency or this specialty, and I'd love to come and spend some time there. If you haven't even applied, but you've come to be a presence and you spend a couple hours, then it's just Andrea and Dave having a conversation with no pressure. And then when you do apply, someone can say, hey, Andrea, she was here 6 months ago.
Exactly.
How
They
about
remember
that?
your name, they remember you and your personality. And I think that what you're saying is so vital. When you're actually going in and you're having a conversation, most people are available, especially presidents of a company. Even though they seem incredibly busy, they're willing to mentor. People enjoy doing that. They like imparting their wisdom. So don't be daunted or intimidated by approaching someone, even the head of a company. You never know, and the worst they can say is no.
Absolutely.
So why not just try it and go on to the next company if it doesn't work, or
Totally
try
agree.
another angle in a polite, persistent way.
Most people want to help. I
Yes,
think
they do.
But they
That's
need to be
it.
asked.
Yes.
They need to be asked.